Hello, welcome to Floristry Market. I'm Greg.
And I'm Emma.
Hello, Emma.
Hello, Greg.
We've done that a few times now, haven't we?
We have.
We're getting better at it.
We're getting better at it.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So yeah.
What's happened since the last time I saw you?
Not a lot.
Okay. Cool, very cool. Anyway, you know what year you're born in, so...
I know what you're born in.
Right.
Yeah. Right, so...
What are we doing?
We're going to do a bridesmaid's basket, but for an adult bridesmaid. So for 2024, 2025, this is just coming in as quite a trend. So rather than your like hand-tied bouquets, you know, like the little bunches or wrist corsages or things like that, people are going for baskets. So they're like, almost like little mini handbags.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you
how do you do it? Don't the flowers... Oh, yeah, I'm not sure you're going to show me, but don't the flowers just come up and get in the way? And...
No, so we're going to keep it quite low.
Okay.
So rather than going... I think the thing is with a basket, sometimes because the handles are quite high, you think that you need to bring the flowers right up here.
Yeah.
We're going to keep them quite low.
Oh.
Just quite down here.
Okay.
So I've taped in some faux oasis and I've strapped that in. You could use that. This one's fine because it's got a lining in it. So if it was fresh oasis, you could do exactly the same.
Do you put this in like this, like you did on the last one that we did, intentionally off-centre?
Yes, because I'm going to always, there's always a focal something, whether it's a focal flower or candle or something's always going in the middle that's going to draw attention. So you don't want to stop that getting in there.
Okay.
It's always slightly off-centre. And I've just gone underneath here. What you could do is if you haven't got the tape or you want to put more flower in, you can wedge oasis in. So some people would pack that with oasis or scrunch cellophane or something around that. Okay. So it's that same thing. We're going to make our outline shape with our foliage. So if I could have, please, some of the eucalyptus. Thank you. So again, if this was fresh, it would be exactly the same process. If it was fresh flowers for a wedding, say the wedding was on the Saturday, I would have ordered them in 2 days before. So they'd come in on the Thursday so that they can have a good drink.
Yep.
We can prepare them, we can condition them. Generally would make it on the Friday for delivery on the Saturday. So lots of people tend to think with wedding flowers that you make them on that morning, but unless it's really, really like crazy hot, you'd always make them the day before. Just because otherwise you're leaving everything to the last minute.
Yeah.
Right, but artificial ones you could obviously make up quite far in advance. But if you were giving them to your client, you need them to keep them somewhere fairly dust-free. Maybe cover them in some cellophane or something like that. Right, so we're going to do the outside edges first. So I'm going to come out just a little bit past the basket.
And you curved that down as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, because I want it to like be coming down. So when they're holding it, you want it to look like it's coming down towards the ground.
Okay.
You don't want it to look like it's flying up in the air. Okay, so I've done my length, then I'm going to do my width. So if you've watched a few of these videos, like this is kind of like a standard thing now. You do your length, you do your width.
Yeah. So
it's not as wide as it is long. It's probably only about half the width.
I'm learning so much.
And they're carrying these like a little handbag, really. And it's like things go around in fashions. Like in the 1980s, this was like really trendy and everything just comes back around.
This was trendy in the 80s?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, baskets, bridesmaids baskets, flower crowns, all of those sorts of things. So I started in 1989 and I think things are coming back around. They're just with a different twist. I think it's the same in any industry, isn't it? So I've done my 4 and now I'm going to come in between. I mean, you could just follow the shape of the basket round, but I just find if you do that process, you kind of remember the steps where you went.
I think everybody finds their way as well.
Yeah, everyone does things in slightly different ways,
Yeah.
you know, and you'll find that when you have other guests on, everybody does things slightly differently. Tying bows is a huge one. Everyone ties bows in a different way. Wrapping, cellophaning, greening up. Right, so if that was fresh flowers, you'd want to make sure that none of the foliage goes into the oasis because it makes too big a hole and it falls out.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got those. So I'm just going to fill in the gaps on the top. So it's always worth greening up first because it just helps to give you your outline shape to work from. So I'm coming in on the top and rather than putting them in upright, I'm putting them in like that. So they're just skimming over. So they're covering up more oasis.
So why have you chosen to go for this one now?
Because it's got nice big round discs. It's going to add a different texture. Fresh poplars is quite floppy and it's got loads of movement to it. Eucalyptus I'd use because it's scented. And it's a slightly different colour. So shape, texture, they're all the things that add interest into your design. What you want is you want your customer to look at it and keep looking because they think, oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
You know?
And they must wonder, how do you do that? There must be an element of magic to it. Just creating something like this.
I think it's personal expression, isn't it? I think even with the couple of things that you've made, like you start making it and you think, oh, what if it's wrong? I've got to copy exactly what that person does. And then the more you get into it, the more you kind of like your own creativity comes into it. And you think, actually, I don't want it to be exactly the same as theirs. I want mine to be a little bit.
But do you find your customers are very much, wow, that's how did you come up with that?
I think some are. I think the thing that people will always say, oh, I'm not artistic at all, I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And then when you get them in the studio, like even if it's just like Christmas wreath workshops or something like that, or something really simple, and people actually have a go, people are a lot more creative than they think. I think they've just forgotten how to be. Yeah. Or people are frightened of getting things wrong, aren't they? So they don't want to have a go because they don't want it to be wrong. But I think anything like this, it's not wrong.
Well, people do that in business, don't they? They want to make the right decision. And I don't know if you found it in your business, but you learn the most from when you make the wrong decision.
Yeah, that is so true. And part of being creative is like sometimes it doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. Exactly that, isn't it?
Exactly,
it's like that thing. Sometimes it's not right, and then you have to. But sometimes the best things come. From when things go wrong.
Yeah,
don't they?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to do these rather than one flower in the middle and a tripod around. I'm going to do this as a little bit more of a modern design. So I'm going to group things together. So I'm still going to have the bigger, darker flowers in the centre. So these gorgeous roses, because they pull focus.
Yeah.
And that is quite big, that
is quite
present,
big.
but I'm going to put it in anyway.
Ooh.
So it might work, it might not. And with a lot of bridal flowers, particularly when people want to have...
You're impressive with those scissors. I've got my snippers.
Actually, I might need you to snip those. I'm scared of snippers.
I've not got my glasses on now.
Thank you. So particularly now with the want for like lots of British flowers and that kind of thing, people are having like one of something, bigger, bolder flowers. So you've got both of those, so they're slightly offset. And then I'm going to put some smaller things in to give it texture.
I like that already.
I had a few weddings that have booked with these, and I'm actually quite excited to make them because it's nice to do something different. I like the hand tides and all the rest of it, but it's always nice when, you know, something new comes about and the client's brave and they have it, or like your dream client is when they say, oh, what do you think I should have? And you can be like, oh, that basket's on trend, and, you know.
Yeah. So you started in the industry when you were 15.
Yeah.
Were you creative at school prior to being 15?
Always. Like, as a small kid, I was that small child that watched Blue Peter.
Yeah.
My dad is actually the really creative one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he is a bricklayer.
Yeah.
Was a bricklayer. But he's, like, super creative, and I always made stuff with my dad. Like, the first thing I ever made and sold was, like, a brownie Christmas fair. I made hedgehogs out of... fir cones.
Oh,
and I think we sold them for about £4, and I always wanted to make money. I was always like wanted to make money, and yeah, I'd always make things. I was always making things.
I used to what was it? Get ladybirds to sell to people for their roses to get rid of the spiders, or spiders to get rid of the ladybird, whatever it was. I can't remember. So some people just told us to go away, just knocking on doors.
Yeah, and it's just that
6 or something.
I was always like that, or I was always like I was always that kid that had like a smelly smelly jar of like rose petals under their bed because I was like making perfume. I was always like that. So I've always liked, I'm not particularly academic, so I think, and I'm not particularly good at art, I wouldn't say, like traditional drawing, like making. If you give me like stuff to make, I'm quite good at like making things. So yeah, I've always liked that.
So what about Lego? I don't know if I've asked you that before. Are you a follow the instructions Lego person?
No.
So you're a create your own thing, Lego person?
Yeah, I'm that person that mixes all the sets. Okay. Yeah. I'm giving you anxiety, aren't I?
Not at all. A little bit.
So I'm just doing the outline. I'm doing that 2 for the length, 2 for the width, and then I'm going to come in between just to give it a bit of shape. And I'm keeping it quite low because they're going to want to hold the handle like that.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that they can still get their hand underneath. And then I'm just going to group things in, really, keeping them within the size of the container. I actually, as an adult, because I love Blue Peter, this is a really random story now.
Okay.
I moved next door to a lady, and she was like one of the, here's the one I made earlier, people. Not like a presenter. She was actually one of the, here's the one I made earlier.
So she'd actually be the one that made it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
No.
That's a very random story.
I know. Yes.
I used to love Blue Peter. Does it still exist?
I think it does.
Oh, right.
I think it does. But there's so much else for them to watch, isn't there? They do it all on YouTube. But yeah, I was like, my kids are like that. My kids are very like arty. Well, arty, and I was always the mum who like I'd let them get all the glitter out.
Yeah.
Mix all the Play-Doh up.
I like mixing the Play-Doh up.
Some people hate it, don't they?
Oh, I love it. And you put it through the machine, it's coming out somebody's eyes or something like that. Oh, I loved it. I mean, as an adult with my own kids, I don't mean as a child.
I know. Right, so I'm just putting individual flowers in, really, keeping it very contained. Generally, for a wedding, they will give you a colour scheme. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to say. You can say kind of exact flowers, but I always try and steer people away from specific varieties. So say if somebody says they want a really specific pink rose or something like that, I try and, because they're living, breathing things, you can't guarantee that they're going to come. So particularly with like Pinterest and Google, people will show you a picture of a rose that's a certain colour.
Yeah, yeah.
But then weather and the time of the year will slightly change that. So, although I always try and get people to give me a colour scheme and flowers that they like rather than specific varieties. So I'm just spreading those out with the colour scheme. So bringing that through, because they're quite strong colours. So both of those colour schemes are quite strong on their own, that dark burgundy and kind of like the orangey colour. But because they're together, you can get away with it. But I think I might lighten it up a little bit with a little bit of the dried flower.
So what were you doing there when you held it? Just seeing if the colour would work?
Seeing if the colour would work. Yeah, I was like, is it going to be too light? But it does work. So it just gives it that, it lightens it up a little bit. Sometimes when it's too dark, I don't know, just loses a bit of something, doesn't it?
What's that stuff then?
I don't actually know what this one is. So I'm just going to put that one in little clusters. And because I've added a little bit of it and it's quite light, we're just going to have to evenly distribute that through the design. So one of the reasons, because people seem to think that if they say it's for a wedding, florists will put their prices up. But one of the reasons is obviously if you're ordering flowers from the wholesaler, the way the auctions work is when they come to auction, the price starts really high. Mm-hmm. So there's someone sitting there ready to buy the flowers. So they're going round on a carousel and there's a clock ticking down and the price starts high. And then obviously the further they go around in the carousel, the lower the price goes. Yeah. But if you want flowers for a wedding, so say I wanted, 40 of these, my wholesaler, he knows that there might only be 50 at market and he's got to secure 40 for me. So they have to buy them when the price is high.
Oh, right. I see.
So that's one of the reasons.
Oh, that's interesting.
Why, when sometimes people do I've got like a ready to wear range, so people can click on the website and they can say what they want. And they can just give me a colour scheme, say what items they want, and they give me a colour scheme. And those items are less than my bespoke items. And it's because they've left the colour scheme, the flower content. Yeah. Because then I can just buy whatever's best at auction.
So do you buy at auction? Is that what, or do you buy from a wholesaler?
I buy from a wholesaler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what most florists do?
Most florists do, yeah. There's a growing, movement out there. A lot of people they're flower farmers, so they're growing them and then they're creating.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people out there now that have got like micro farms, growing British flowers.
Oh, that's good.
And I buy quite a lot. I buy as much local as I can. So like at the weekend, I had a wedding that had dahlias in it. And
Yeah.
I've got a neighbour that literally, he grows like champion dahlias.
Oh, right.
So I just went and knocked on his door and he was like, "Yep, go out and pick whatever you like." From
I,
the field."
I saw on your Instagram, so
was-
you were out there in the rain.
I was out there in the
picking
rain,
your flowers,
literally
yeah.
picking whatever I wanted, which was just so lovely.
So that's just in a neighbour's garden?
That's my neighbour. Yeah, he grows them and he exhibits them.
Oh, right.
And,
that was a serious garden.
Oh yeah, and he exhibits them, and he was like, I'd asked him the day before, and he was like, "Yeah, go on, just go and pick what you like. You know where they are." So that's just like heaven. But you can't get much more local than that.
No, that's great.
So, I mean, that would be my dream. That would be my dream. My dream would be to just be able to use all British flowers all the time.
Yeah.
It's just that in the winter, there's not enough.
So where do most of them come from? Is it Holland?
Either from Holland or via Holland. So lots of places import into Holland, into the Dutch markets, and then they distribute out to the rest of
It
Europe.
must be such a stressful industry because, particularly if you're somewhere else in the world, to get something transported so quickly. I guess it's the same with food, with fish, with meat, you know,
Yeah.
all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It must be stressful.
Yeah, and it's like so weather dependent as well.
Yeah.
And like some things, and some things are in season. So things like peonies, I'm just filling in the gaps now.
Yeah.
But things like peonies, when people want, like they've got such a short season, and they either come in like bullets, or they come in and they're really opening up really fast.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, and they're blowing open, so you just don't know how they're going to come in, how they're going to look. Are they going to bruise?
So you're talking of the auctions and stuff. If I wanted to, could I go to one of these auctions or do it online and buy?
Mine, like the big ones, you have to go through a wholesaler. But like New Covent Garden in London, anyone can go in and buy.
All right. Okay.
But you have to buy, that's the other thing. I'm just going to add one more of these in. So yeah, if you want to go in and see a really good wholesaler, so New Covent Garden is basically like, it's like a massive market with lots of market stalls. So it's not one big wholesaler. You'd have like someone that specialises in roses, someone that specialises in tulips, someone that specialises in lilies, and anyone can go in and buy, but you just have to buy like in bulk. So you couldn't go in and say, "I want 2 roses." You'd have to buy a wrap of 20 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But literally, it's if you get off at Vauxhall, it's right there.
All right.
And
Okay.
you can just wander on in. You need to get there early, like 5 a.m.
Sorry. Won't be doing that.
Right, so what I'm going to do is we've got the design now, quite nice and low, and then I'm going to just make a nice ribbon just to hang
Okay.
down at the front. But yeah, anyone can go in. Or like if you're up in London, Columbia Road Flower Market on a Sunday is lovely.
Have you got a favourite market?
If I'm going that way, I'll probably Covent Garden because I could just spend a fortune. Although, probably Covent Garden.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much. There's just so much in there. But yeah, anyone can just go in and have a look around.
I've never done it. Should do that.
Right, so I'm just going to make a really loose 2-loop bow. So just 1 loop and then a second. And then I'm going to take an extra bit just to tie around. And also I think the other thing with weddings is people just think you've made a figure up out of your head, but I think they don't take into consideration, the, I do a consultation which is free. So you have a consultation, then you create the mood board, you send over your brief, then you've got to work out, you've got to do your buying list.
Yeah.
Flower comes in, you've got to condition your flower, prep your flower, make your flower, deliver your flower, go and take it down. So there's so much more to it than just that item that you produce. And I think people don't always recognise that. And there's a big movement where people are like, if you say it's a wedding, they put however much on. But there is like a whole behind the scenes that people don't see. Right, so I'm just going to tie that on to one side because it's that quite asymmetry. And people like to have, I'll just turn it that way so you guys can see. People like to have that nice traily bow, really.
Okay. So if you were to say, going back to that florist thing and charging more for weddings, wouldn't that be the same for any very time-specific event?
Yeah, I think so. And you're also, the other thing that, and I think sometimes people are ashamed to say it, you're also paying for my expertise. Like, not everybody can create a wedding. Not everybody can, okay, they can create it, but they can't deliver what somebody's asked for to that high standard every single time. So I think part of it is you are also paying for that expertise, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think I don't know if I've told you this story. It's a story, it's in some business book somewhere, and it's just meant to demonstrate exactly that. So I think there's a submarine that's broken down. None of the engineers can fix it, and they have to get a guy in, and a guy comes in, and he just walks along. The engineers were spending days, weeks trying to fix it, couldn't figure it out. He walks in, just looks at it, gets his hammer, and just does. And then said, that's £20,000. He said, you're here 5 minutes. All he did was tap it with a hammer. He said, yeah, that was £1. The other 19,999 was knowing where to tap.
Yeah, and
it's exactly that.
It's exactly that. And it's like, I'm all for everybody starting out. I'm all for everybody learning, and everybody's got to start somewhere. But I think if you're wanting something specialised, I think that's the thing, isn't it? As an industry, also, I think not so much that people need to pay for it. I think as a skilled person, you need to not be afraid to know your worth. If they actually worked out the amount of time and the amount of hours that they've put into something and totaled it all up, I don't think you should be scared. It's like anything, isn't it? You can go and buy, I don't know, a ready-made cake, can't you? It's not the same level. It's okay, and if you want okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want that next level up, you need to be prepared to pay for it. And I think people shouldn't be scared to charge for it.
Absolutely, I'm with you.
Right. So
that's lovely.
And then that would go. You'd hold it like that. When they have it in the shop, they hold it more like that. But yeah. So it's very. It's just a take on a traditional basket, really. But rather than lots and lots of one in the middle and then the tripod, it's like a few bigger flowers. So it's really your bigger flowers in the centre, medium flowers in the middle, smaller flowers on the outside, darker flowers in the middle, little bit of filler. And the bow's the thing. Everybody loves the big old bow.
That's really nice when you're carrying it.
They carry it and they'll have it against their dresses and they might have a contrasting colour.
That's lovely. Emma, thank you very much.
Very welcome.
And thank you, everybody, for watching this. If you've got any questions, probably for Emma, not for me, leave them down below on Facebook and YouTube, and subscribe as well on YouTube, and hit the little bell icon. You'll be notified every time we upload a new show. Check us out on social media as well. Instagram, Facebook, what's the other one? TikTok. Thank you. And you can check Emma out as well. We'll put things up on the screen. Thank you once again. That's absolutely gorgeous. Stay happy, everybody. Stay positive, and we'll see you next week. Bye.